can guess his favourite Simpsons character if you want. Ask him some Simpsons questions. Ready to go? Cool. All right, welcome to another hashtag Ask Jim. So we're going live on Facebook right now. We have our training group in, which is fantastic. Great training numbers as well. Spring is here, Jim, so it's great for the mowing franchisees and for most other divisions as well.
Very nice here too. Beautiful, beautiful outside.
Absolutely. Cool. So what we're going to do first is, guys, before we get into the questions, we're going to get to our Local Heroes winners announcement. So if you don't know, we do a thing called Jim's Local Heroes, where every week we give away $2K worth of services in Australia and $500 worth of services in New Zealand to someone very deserving. People nominate their local hero in their community. So let's read out the first winners, then we'll get into the questions as well.
Liz lost her son to suicide shortly before COVID-19 due to mental health problems. She then took upon herself to provide fresh fruit and vegetables under her car park in the Basin, Victoria. This has grown to a permanent 7 days a week charity aptly named Ben's Place. She and her volunteers work tirelessly around the clock, sourcing, collecting and distributing this food to families in need. Meanwhile, Liz's own home has suffered and needs some tender loving care. In many ways, she isn't able to do this because she's 70 years of age. She sacrifices a lot for her local community who are suffering with the cost of living. She's amazing and inspiration to all those around her. So, Local Hero Australian winner, $2,000 worth of Jim's Group services. Well done. And for New Zealand, Sue has been a teacher at View Road School, Waiku, for 37 years. Every school morning and afternoon she mans the pedestrian crossing to ensure all students cross safely. She teaches all the years 7 and 8s of the Waiku and surrounding schools art. Every 2 years she organises an exhibition and displays artwork from every child in her class. She's an active member of the RSA and organises the Waiku School's Anzac services each year. She's extremely humble and I would love to have her recognised for the extra work she does for our community. This is her final year of working as a teacher as she's retiring at the end of the year. Her dedication to our school community and wider community will be sorely missed. So $500 Jim's Group vouchers to Sue Walsham.
There we go. A couple of good winners, and if you know someone who deserves some Jim's services, head to jims.net or jims.co.nz. It's the Local Heroes tab on there. You nominate someone. The better the story you give, we do read them all. Well, I do read them all anyway, and we make a selection as well. So we chose a really good one there. Around, you know, the lady Liz Bullen and her charity Ben's, Ben's Place. That's a really good one as well. And then school teachers. We need more school teachers. It's a very thankless job, but it's a very needed profession as well there. So with Sue Walsham, so we'll get onto you as well. Every week we do that, so make sure you stay tuned to the Facebook page and nominate today via the website. So, who's got the first question for Ask Jim tonight? It can be anything at all. Don't be shy. Once the first one gets up there, it starts flowing really well. Well done. And you get a prize. Everyone who asks a question will get a prize.
How you doing, Jim? My name's Tanya. I just have a question for you. Your logo is with you of a beard and a moustache. Why did you get rid of it?
I originally grew a beard because my fiancée at the time liked beards. And when I was at the age of in my late 40s and I found myself single, not for my own choice, my beard was starting to go grey, and you don't want to look any older when you're in the dating market in your 40s, so I shaved it off for that reason. So it's all about women, all right? That is true, isn't it, guys? Who do we live to impress?
There you go. You want to see a photo of the Jim's one? Just type in Jim's Penman images into Google. You'll see the image there next to the trial. That's it. Who's got the next question? Go for it.
G'day, Jim. I just bought one of your handyman businesses. What would be your greatest piece of advice going forward for me, other than customer service?
Look at what you do every day and try to do it better. The best operators aren't the ones that are necessarily the smartest or the richest or the most educated or even the most experienced. It's the people that look at what they do every day and say, how can I improve this? How can I do the job quicker? How can I do it better? How can I make my customers more wowed? It's always constant improvement. And for that means be in contact with your fellow franchisees, come to meetings, talk to your franchisor, read stuff. I love talking books. Just keep on learning and learning. You can go on YouTube, there's fantastic stuff. Keep on learning and developing. It doesn't matter how slowly, even if you just increase your efficiency by 1% here, 1%, 1%, 1%, you just keep on doing that. Suddenly you're making more money, having a better lifestyle than you could possibly imagine. Or making good money and working less hours than you could possibly imagine, which is just as worthwhile.
Awesome. Thank you.
There we go, good question there as well. Got a question, guys? Feel free to jump up, come up and ask Jim anything you like as well. I don't know if they asked you to do it today, write them down, but yeah.
You got any online?
Sorry? I've got one online already, but yeah.
G'day, Jim. My name's Aaron from the cleaning division. A bit of a strange question, but just looking at what's around in the world at the moment and what Jim's currently doing, 51 different units and that here. Has there ever been any talk of a Jim's coffee cart or your own coffee brand with that logo there on a strong coffee brand? That'd be beautiful.
Yeah, we actually did have it at one stage.
Jim's
we had one
Mobile
guy
Cafe.
trialling it, but as in most things, it's not so much the idea, it's the person running it. And this particular person, mistake on our part, just didn't have what it takes to run the division. If you look at divisions that work well, it's a decent idea, but exceptional leadership. Like some of the building inspections guys I was having dinner with tonight, and it's just a brilliant division. It started about 12 years ago. It's now the biggest division of its
170 franchisees.
170.
Yeah,
isn't it?
around 160, 170, yeah.
It's an amazing division, by far the biggest of its kind. And you have a look at why. You've got people like Paul Comerford and Phil Smallman. Phil's here.
Don't know, Sam Robinson as well.
Sam Robinson.
Trainer, yep.
Yeah, we've got some great leaders in the division, and that's what it counts. And you never know. Somebody in this room today, or even watching online, might come up with an idea and start a new division for us, and that becomes a huge success. Laundry only started just over 3 years ago. It's got 120.
No, more than around 160 or 170, something like that.
Laundry?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. I can go look at the numbers.
Wow.
Yeah, 171 was it? Yeah, there you go.
And it's just over 3 years ago. This started by one of by Bill.
It was his wife's idea, because I've got to say that, because I'll get a
wife's
message.
idea?
His wife's
Okay,
idea,
all right.
so she gets the credit for
Yeah,
it.
he's a great guy. Comes from the cleaning division, but they just thought, here's an idea, great leadership.
Real quickly for everyone, Jim, can you tell them how a new division actually starts and how easy it could be? Let's say if they want to take over Mobile Cafe, for example, what would they do?
Well, somebody would come to us, we'd look at the background. I probably get a suggestion at least once a week, somebody's got an idea for a new division. And either haven't got the experience or it's not practical for some reason, like not good enough hourly rate. We look at least $70 an hour, and we look for something that's got scale. Because we don't charge a lot per franchisee, so you need numbers to make it work. And then we look at the person running it. What's their background, what's their experience? Quite often it's a franchisee or a franchisor in Jim's group already. And we look at things like how much money they're making. Are they making good money? Great customer service record, and ideally being a trainer or something like that too. So they like helping people. The deal is actually pretty simple. We don't charge very much. We charge fees of about $4,000 a month, and the first 6 months in advance. But other than that, there's really no startup costs. So we make it very easy to come in. And what happens is we actually rent the division to somebody, and we say your job is to achieve at least 30 franchisees within 3 years. And if you achieve that, it's your division. You can keep on building it, you can sell it, whatever you like. But you have to actually be successful. And most of the new divisions we've got,
Well, driving school's a good example.
driving school just started up 1st of August.
Yep.
We've already got, how many people in driving school?
With 5 or 6, I've seen a few people come for your training, so
Yeah.
that started by Lance, who was a Mowing franchisee.
Yeah, as a party. We've got some people here from Scratch and Dent, started by
Jason Japp. Yeah.
Jason Japp, who was originally one of our first mowing franchisees, went out, got some experience in the world, come back now, he started a division, that's doing really well. So you never know.
There you go.
Somebody in this room might be a future leader of a giant Jim's division.
Who've got a question, guys? Come up and ask it. Go for it. Just ask anything you like. Anything. There's a couple of questions which stump Jim. Now, if you're going to ask a question which he doesn't have an answer for, I'll give you an automatic
G'day,
prize
Jim.
as well.
G'day, people. My name's Vernon. I'm from Tassie. Just brought a mowing franchise. And I was talking to Jim at lunchtime and he said, you can ask me any question except for what my credit card is.
That was the one.
So on that thing, what's your wife's credit card number?
Well, I actually don't know.
And there's another
Very
one
clever.
on it. Look, I'm very impressed from coming here and where you've come from and where you've grown to. That's why we're all here. We're all aiming for your sort of life. Who mows your lawns?
Well, it depends, actually. I live next door, and it's a huge area, so we just get some of the ride-on from here, goes and does it. Up at the farm, I've got a little lawn around the house, and I mow myself with a little push mower. You know, one of the ones that's
The blades.
not powered at all, just got the blades turning.
Spin.
Powered itself too. Which is
And-
quite hard work, but it's good exercise.
Oh, look, my grandfather used to do it right till the day he died.
That was my first lawn mowing job I ever did, was to mow the family lawn. It was one of those old-style mowers. So, yeah.
And while I'm here, I've got this adoption paper. Can you sign this? That's all, thanks.
Like it. Really good questions. That's how it's done. Good man. Come up and ask Jim a question. Go for it. I'll get to a few online as well, Jim, in a minute after this one.
Hi, I'm Gitanjali. I want to ask a question like when and how you get an idea to start business. Why? Because when you want to start something and you are just confused and where to go, what to do, like a lot of ideas. But doing something is like, it's very, unique, and you have to be, acknowledge yourself, like what to do next. So yeah, I just want to know your...
Sorry, I don't.
Is that like a question about what to focus on, or?
Yeah, like I just want to know like how and when you started, how you get this idea to start business.
How do you get the idea to franchise the
Yeah,
business?
yeah. The total business.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have been doing gardening jobs since I was 8 years old, so it's been a long way back. That's well over half a century now. I used to go to my neighbour and just rake his driveway and do odd cleaning things, and I did it through most of my childhood. And then when I left school, I took a gap year and I tried a few different things, worked on a farm for a while, and then I put an ad in the window of the local hardware store, offering to do gardening work for, actually it was $1.50 an hour in those days, which was even then not very much. And just went from there. Had a few gardening clients, and then a few years later I bought a lawnmower because I wanted to get a car, to pay for the car, and then I just built it. And then I actually spent 11 years at university getting myself a PhD in history, and lawn mowing was my part-time student income. So, what do you do with a PhD in history? Well, of course, you mow lawns for a living, so that's what I did. And not thinking it would be anything great, actually. It was just something to do in the meantime until I found something to really focus on. Tried a few different things, tourist venture, mostly disaster, computer shop, all kinds of things. Nothing. Had to go at Employe one time. Oh, that was no good. And then I just found this business, and it just kept on growing. And it's like I said before, it's not so much that you have some brilliant brainwave, it's that you look at what you do and say, how can I do it better? It's not one giant decision, it's thousands and thousands of little decisions. Things like when you're mowing a lawn, how do you get round a tree, saving a half second? How do you save one step, emptying your grass bag? How do you do the best possible edge in the least possible time? How do you navigate between streets with the least looking at the street directory in those days? Just a whole stack of little micro decisions all the time. How can I improve? How can I improve? And I still do it today. You just keep on looking at what you do every day and saying, how can I improve on this? And there's not a day goes by, and I'm including holidays, weekends, Christmas Day, doesn't matter what it is, I'm not asking myself the same question. How can I improve?
I've got a couple online I want to hear real quickly, Jim, as well. So we try and be real transparent. So there's curly ones and there's negative, positive ones. So this is from Sarab. He says, I left Jim's because of excessive fees. He says, my franchisor had no interest in addressing my concerns and told me to leave if I was not happy with the changes. So I don't know which division he was in, but that's what his comment was. And I think it's always good to address the negative ones. We try and address the positive ones as well.
That doesn't work for everybody. We actually find that on average, between about 10 and 15% of franchisees report poor income. That happens. Not everybody is suited to be in business. Person doesn't get support from their franchisor. I don't know who they are. Quite often, what a franchisor means by support is when you go to them and say, hey, you're giving poor customer service, you need to improve. They say, no, I want support. I want you to work out how to give me more leads. And you say, well, maybe if you looked after your clients better and followed them up, you'd have more work. No, I want you to support me in giving me more leads. That's what I need. I don't need you to tell me what to do. I want you to support me. So people have a very different idea of what support means.
What about the comment about excessive fees? He says he left because of excessive fees.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of what value you get, isn't it? We're actually unique in that we don't demand people stay with us forever. We have a breach of a restraint of trade school, and that's probably about 6 months' fees, so it's not much if people don't really feel the value. Interesting thing is that people stay with us for years who don't take any leads at all, because even when they're not taking leads, they're getting value from the from the brand, value from the support, value from the meetings, value from the buying group, value from all the different things we do. Our fees average, we think, from surveys, we think our franchises average just a bit over $3,000 a week, which amounts to a net income of probably a bit over 100 grand a year. And our fees on average are about 6% of turnover, which we think is pretty fair.
It's a fair fee. It's quite interesting with that sometimes, but as you said, the value of fees. But it's interesting. To have a few mates who have independent businesses and just hear what they pay on Google AdWords and SEO alone, and they're getting ripped off by this SEO company paying 4 or 5 grand a month. It's quite.
I had a friend who had a windscreen repair business, and he said, I don't need to pay franchise fees because we didn't have the business in those days anyway. He said, I wouldn't want to pay franchise fees because, it's just money thrown away. And I said, what's your marketing budget? He said, about 20% of turnover. So his average marketing budget was 3 times what our franchisees pay in fees. So everybody's decision. Not everybody is suited to be in business. Not everybody is suited to be in a franchise either. You've got to be able to follow the system.
We'll try and answer everything, so thanks for that one, Sarab, as well. We've got a few on there which we'll get to in a minute as well. Anyone else got a question for Jim? Just come up, guys, ask Jim a question, anything that's on your mind. Can be anything as well, fun. That credit card question was a ripper. It's a good one.
Yes, I got to admit, that stumped me.
That did stump you. That was perfect.
Jim Skay here. Are you looking to start Jim's space program as well? Maybe Jim Space, your local space expert, and maybe Elon one day would come to Foothills to do the training.
I like that one, yeah. We actually thought of it as a brand. We're thinking of actually having fun brands, and somebody could actually
There's an NFT thing back in,
wrap their car with Jim's space travel or something like that. I think it's actually great. I'm a great admirer of Elon Musk. I know he's a fruitcake in some ways, but I think what he's done with SpaceX is amazing. Have you read his latest biography, the Lieberman one? He's an amazing guy. What he does at SpaceX is incredible. He's taken the cost of getting into space down to a fraction of what it used to be. And he's beaten all these established companies. It's amazing. And he goes onto the assembly line and he looks at what they're doing and says, do we need to do this? Can we do less of that? Or can we take that away? Can we get this thing from somewhere else? So he replaces custom-made stuff, valves of it with things out of cars. He just has this incredible process. He's very, very... he's a crazy man, he really is. He's very obsessive. But it's really interesting. It's a great book. I recommend that one to you. It's a great book. I really admire it. One of the things I do is I read a lot of books or listen to talking books, probably at least 2 a week. So I'm always got ideas coming into my mind.
A really good question. Jim, space travel? Who knows?
Yeah, I like that actually. Space travel is a good one too.
Come up, guys, and ask
If we do
questions.
run it, I'll contact you to be our first franchisee. and I assure you, we won't charge you more than $100 million for your franchise.
Go for it.
Hey Jim, how you going? I'm named Matthew from Mowing. Bit of a 2-part question depending on the answer to the first one. But I was doing some reading up on you, and on, I think it was Wikipedia, it says David Jim Penman. Is that because your real name's David?
Yeah, David James Penman, that's right.
So the second question is, how come not David's and Jim's?
What's that?
How come not David's Mowing, but Jim's Mowing?
Well, I changed my name basically when I left school. I never changed it legally. I was working on this farm when I took my gap year. It was about a few months, and there was a kid about my age called David there. I said, call me Jim. So I got used to it. Jim is kind of a, I don't know, it's a kind of an Aussie butch name, totally strong, macho. I don't know, it's got that kind of, the guy with the beard and the hat, that's very Aussie, isn't it? I mean, if it was David's mowing, it'd be different. It's like if you talked about James's mowing too, that'd be like a butler, wouldn't it? With the silver service. Whereas Jim's mowing is, it's a guy with calloused hands and dirt under his fingernails, which I still have actually, because I garden very, very busily at the weekend.
So Nick was already taken.
Mick's mowing. Yeah. Ray Martin did a version of your Jim's Mowing as well back in the day. There's a skit on Channel 9 on YouTube. Yeah. Ray Martin pretended to be a Jim's Mowing franchisee called Ray's Mowing, and it was American Rosso's skit, which we got on YouTube, which was quite funny actually. Yeah. Come up and ask a question, go for it. I have a few online too, Jim, which I'll put to you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a Kiwi, but we live in Perth. My husband's just bought a handyman service. So you've obviously had an impact on a lot of people's lives. So if you weren't a Jim, what would you be doing?
If I hadn't gone into... Well, I always intended to be an academic, actually. That was my aim. I just didn't quite realise my ideas were sort of crazily unorthodox to the extent that I really had no prospect of a job, but I didn't realise that. But that was what I intended to do. This book actually here, this one here, is basically the research that I've done. I'm funding a research institute, which is following up ideas for my PhD. So that was kind of my idea to be a scientist. I enjoy business, I tell you what. I really love business. It's like a great, endlessly complicated computer game with multiple levels and all kinds of bosses, and you get paid for playing it. I mean, that's really fun. I couldn't imagine a more fun life than that. But I'll tell you something though, if I wasn't in business, I wouldn't mind being a teacher, especially a primary teacher, because I love kids. Whenever in church service, I tend to gravitate to teaching kids in Sunday school. Kids are, yeah, I like that. I like children. That's why I've got 10 of them. Well, it's good question.
That's good. I've never heard you say you'd be a teacher before. How would your temper go, you reckon, with the kids? They'd test a little bit, I reckon.
I'm actually quite a reasonable teacher. The kids used to like me. I taught other classes too. I managed to engage them. I often used to take a video clip along and show them something and then talk around that and just get them engaged and interested. I'm not bad. I love teaching my kids. I teach them all kinds of things.
There we go. Go for it.
Thanks. Jim Neville from Mowing in Victor Harbour in SA. 2 points before my question. I've worked for a couple of fairly big corporates during my quite long life. And it's really refreshing to see someone so engaged in their own business. I've only been here 2 days, like everybody else, I think. But yeah, it's fantastic, and to see that there really is Jim is good backing to the business.
You mightn't always be so happy when you sort of approach me about something, about a complaint or something. I'm not always the most positive presence in your life.
Yeah, well, it's not Neville, actually. One of the questions earlier you answered a bit of my question, but who did you go to when you decided you had a round that you might want to sell? Who mentored you through the process of the franchise options and things like that? Who did you go to talk and learn?
Nobody really.
All right, thanks.
I read a lot of books. What I knew about franchising was to a large extent from Behind the Arches, which is about McDonald's and the way he approached it. And I like that approach. McDonald's is actually, it's a fantastic franchise organisation. It's great the way they treat franchisees. It's a very fair system. They look after suppliers well, look after the franchisees well. It's a fair system. They also have a very good system for training staff. I've actually encouraging my son, 15 years old son, Aaron, I was just talking about today, to go for a job at McDonald's. It's good training. The only thing I don't like about McDonald's is the food, which is really disgusting and unhealthy, but I really admire them as a company. So I knew about that kind of stuff, but more that. And then I just learned from people around me, like people in my church who taught me good lessons about life, not about franchising as such. You'll find some of them in the book, actually, if you have a look through that.
I'm lucky enough I might win one.
You should already have one.
No, yeah. the book you should have got in your package.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one there. That's the book.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, do you remember the story about the advertising guy? The one who taught me about how to sell lawn mowing rounds? Yep. That's an important one.
Oh, thank you.
There we go, good question. Come up and ask a question, guys. Come up. Anyone come up? Go for it. Can be anything you like, can be silly, can be whatever.
When you first started, who was your original investor to create it into what it is?
No, never had a cent from anybody else.
That's impressive.
Self-made.
One of the great things about the service industry is that it doesn't require a whole lot of capital. That's the amazing thing. You can start from very little. You know, you want to buy, let's say you want to buy a McDonald's franchise, you can do it, but you've got to have at least
$1 million or something.
At least $1 million cash before you can even get into it.
And the long waiting list.
Whereas something like a Jim's franchise, you can get in it for 25 grand, which often most of it's or all of it's borrowed. So it's actually a tremendously easy way to get into business. And the great thing about it is that you can build anything, anywhere. You'll hear Dan Carl tomorrow morning, I think he's going to be talking. Dan's a guy he's a high school dropout who worked for McDonald's, which is a good training. Bought a lawn mowing franchise with great trepidation, really wondering whether he'd done the right thing. He's a young guy, just in his early 20s, just married. He's now one of our top franchisors. He's a multi-millionaire and about to launch gyms in the US. This is a high school dropout with no capital behind him individually. He's all built it through his own efforts.
In a relatively short amount of time too. Hasn't been overly long.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 years, probably 6 years maybe.
Yeah. It's an amazing story actually when you hear this guy. And that's exciting, isn't it? You don't need, actually, what I find is that what's in short supply for most people is not money, but it's drive and the willingness to keep on improving and doing better. And just be passionate about service and be passionate about improvement. It's the attitude that counts. And if you've got that, you can start anywhere and go anywhere. Because when I started business full time, I was broke. I was $35,000 in debt. I had nothing. And I just built from there. And you can do the same.
Plenty of work in handyman too to do that, so.
I actually think it's good to start business with very little money. That's why service business is so good. Because there's no upper limit.
Go for it.
Hello, Jim. This is Shiva from Jim's Energy. I have two questions. One is, when can we get some merchandise that has Jim's Energy on it?
There should be some cups and stuff in the shop. Is
Nothing
there nothing in there?
No.
Okay.
What's the after?
Jim's Energy merch. So in the shop we obviously have all the divisions and stuff.
Okay.
Not every division's on the merch, but we'll have to ask about that. There should be.
Well, if there's an interest, what would you want to do with it? Would you want to give it to clients?
Really? No, just for me, for now.
You can't get one.
I got $15 gift voucher, so I just want to use it somewhere.
It's got a gift voucher and there's nothing but Jim's Energy up there, that's why.
That reminds me of the story about the Scotsman who went to heaven. He came to the pearly gates and he said to St. Peter, like, I want to come in. And Peter says, no, you can't. He said, why not? He said, because it's well known that all Scotsmen are really miserable, mean, stingy bastards. You can't come in. He said, well, but look, I've been quite different. I'm not a normal Scots person. I give to charity. I'm very generous. I'm open-handed. And Peter says, no, you can't come in. He said, why not? Well, we can't cook haggis for one.
But not every division's on there, so there's a couple of newer divisions there as well which are on there, but Jim's Energy should be on there.
If there was enough interest, we'd get it done, but there's usually a similar, there's an order for these things.
Okay. The second one is, like, today we were in the training, we were talking about the resilience. So I want to hear about one of the worst day you had when you're working on the road, and how did you come out of it?
Good question. The worst day when you're working on the road.
Well, the worst day is probably the one I talk about in the book, actually. It was just after I started, when I was deeply in debt, really badly in debt, just struggling to make a living, and my car broke down. The clutch burned out. And that was about 3 or 4 months after I first started. And I just felt, when that happened, it was late at night. I was supposed to have a night with my wife, because we used to have dinner. We had a special night on Friday night, which it wasn't much, but we couldn't afford anything. But I looked forward to it. And then my car broke down, and I knew I had this bill to fix the car. And I had this big load of rubbish with stuff on the back, and I just felt complete despair. At that stage, the closest I've ever felt like giving up. I just felt it was too much, that I would never get out of this terrible situation, which was my fault. You know, I got in this debt because of stupid things that I'd done, and I felt terrible. Despair. And I have this saying when I mow lawns, even no matter how bad I feel, you always got to put one foot in front of another. You just got to put one foot, do the next thing. Don't think about the future, just think about the next thing to do. So I thought, what's the next thing? Okay. Went to a public phone booth. In those days, no cell phones. Rang a friend to come and help me with the trailer. And then I rang the RACV, and I went and sat in the car waiting. It was getting cold and it was dark, and I was feeling miserable. And as I was listening, I put a cassette in the cassette player of the car. And I was just newly a Christian in those days, and it was Keith Green. I used to really love Keith Green. And as I was listening to his music and his words, I thought, I really don't feel so absolutely terrible after all. You know, this is like the worst thing that could happen. And yet, I don't feel absolutely at the bottom. And as I was aware of that, and I thought, well, if this doesn't defeat me, then nothing else ever will. because I knew that no matter what was thrown at me, no matter what went wrong, I would never ever give up. And that was kind of like, it was a great feeling of joy. Because even though things were so bad, if I didn't give up, if I didn't surrender to it, if I kept on going, some way I would get through this and I would be successful. And, well, I sort of did, didn't I?
There you go. Good question.
Yeah, it's
Come on,
good.
go for it.
G'day Jim, my name's Jack, doing mowing in Brisbane. My question is, with Dan taking Jim's over to the US market, what's going to be Jim's real point of difference in the market over there to help grab a foothold, both for customers but also for franchisees who might want to join the group?
The key is franchisees, not customers. If you have great franchisees with a good system, you will get customers. We have very little trouble these days getting clients. We have a lot of trouble finding enough of the quality franchisees. So the key thing we're going to do that nobody in the US has done, and believe me, I know this, is we're going to have a system that is really focused on making franchisees successful, which means the lowest fees we can get away with, the best service, the most leads. We'll do everything possible we can to make them raving fans. And nobody does that. The kind of stuff we have in our contract, all the things about being able to vote out your franchisor and change regions and veto changes to your manual, all this kind of stuff too, it's completely unknown anywhere else in the world. And that's what we've got. That's the technology we've got. We've also got very good computer technology. It's costing millions of dollars to develop it, so we might as well do it overseas. So I think we've got something that is unique in the world. There's nothing like Jim's anywhere I've ever seen or read about or heard about. Maybe you'll help us with the US one day.
Maybe one day. Thank you.
We've got a lot of great people in this country. We really do. And in New Zealand, of course.
Well, the story's the point of difference as well, because technically it's the world's largest Jim's mowing and gardening franchise, which is not in the US, right? So
the interesting thing is that the biggest ones in America are all to do with chemicals and things like that. Because that's got a very high rate, and they have this big equipment and they drench the lawn in chemicals. That's how they do it. Nobody's succeeded in doing it for what we do, because what we do is fairly low value jobs in a sense. You're making sort of $70 an hour, $80 an hour, that kind of thing too. So to do that, you've got to have a different kind of technology. You've got to have a big scale. That's why we won't do anything unless we can see numbers. Ideally, a division should have at least 100 franchisees.
But their mindset's also a little bit different in regards to the sole trader versus wanting to put on people. That's when Mike Andy's obviously came over here and said that's a big point of difference between the Australian market and his market, is they want to put on people and employ people, not do any work themselves.
Well, we've got to work with that. Because labour is a lot cheaper in America. It's quite different. But from what I can see, they charge just as much to do the jobs as we do, but it's just not organised in the same way. So we're going to have to get used to that. I mean, a lot of Australians, I don't know what Australians, what proportion of people have workers, but some of them are quite big businesses. But there's no reason why our model can't work to that. It's actually very efficient because of the way our fees work with the set base fee. We don't charge turnover. The bigger the business grows, the more profitable it is. So I think it'll work well. What we've got to do in America, we made a mistake. We went into the UK and we put people on all over the country and we never got a penetration. So what we've got to do is to go into one market, and Dan's looking at Florida, and really get a lot of franchises on the road to become a household name just locally, and then spread from there. That's the way to do it. We've got to work out a way to get multiple trailers on the road at the same time. Because the more people you have, the easier it is to find work.
Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim anything you like at all. Anyone? Anything you like?
Hi Jim, Rob from fencing.
I know you are.
My question is, I started a little while back when I opened my bag of goodies. There was no terry toweling hat, just me cap. Why is that? As it's branded everywhere, and I've been asked a few times.
Well, you don't have a beard either, do you, Rod? So
oh no, I got told to shave it.
Did you really?
I don't know if there's fencing guys with a hat,
Yeah, look, the reason I used to wear a hat like this was because I have fairly fair skin, so I burn. And when you're mowing lawns, a broad brim hat tends to get knocked off because you're always walking under branches and things. So I found that was the best hat for that purpose. But it's really up to the division. You know, it's what the division likes.
Yeah, because I always wear a cap. Always
Yeah,
have.
the uniform pack for fencing has always been cap, yeah. But some franchisees will get bucket hats and stuff if they like as well. But yeah, for sure, we can organise that if that's something you want.
Yeah, would you like a bucket hat?
We would.
Plus-
We would like the
yeah.
fencing bucket hat for summer.
Plus the beard as well, yeah.
Yeah, we can.
We'll get this.
No, we can do that. We'll have the glue-on beard as well.
Yeah.
On the cap.
We tried to put that into the manual where it had to have beard, but the women objected. They were just unreasonable.
You got a question, guys? Please feel free to ask Jim anything you like. No one's asked you about Star Wars yet, about Simpsons.
Don't put it up like that.
Hi, Jim, I'm Paul from Mowing. I had a question about franchisors, actually, because the first day you spoke, you mentioned a franchisor that had done the wrong thing. So I was just wondering how you select someone to be a franchisor, for one, and what do you have in place to protect franchisees from someone that would tend to do the wrong thing?
Okay, usually franchisors are successful franchisees. It's become more difficult in recent times because as the business has grown, the value of the regional franchises has gone up. They typically these days kind of about $15,000 per franchisee. So to buy a region with 100 franchisees would set you back like $1.5 million. So it's kind of difficult. The biggest opportunity to become a franchisor is usually in one of the new divisions, like driving school. There's franchisors just signed up for driving school. And I think driving school could be one of the best. So there's opportunities in that area. How do we pick franchisors? Usually, as I said before, people who do make good money, because if you're not making good money, you can't teach anybody else how to make good money. Great customer service, obviously, and somebody who enjoys helping others. That's a very hard characteristic. And as to how we control what's going on, we have an annual survey. So once a year we ask questions and it's anonymous. You're going to ask questions like how often does your franchisor ring you, how quickly they get back to you, how helpful are they, this kind of stuff. And that's anonymous. Your franchisor doesn't know how you do. We only get an overall rating. If we see problems with that, then we put pressure, including breach notices on franchisors. And the other way that it works is that I have very deal of emphasis on getting franchisees to contact me direct. I give as you know, I gave my phone number and my email address to every franchisee, and I made a very big point of saying contact me. And that's usually how we find out things, because people tell me things. Like we've had cases where, the pay for work guarantee system, all right? We've had cases where franchisors were making excuses not to pay it. And one reason I write a letter after 1 month is to actually check up. And I make myself available. I'm very good responding to emails. So if something goes wrong, usually somebody will tell me about it. This person could be being unfair, they're breaching the contract in some way, they're just being not pleasant. And then I check around a bit, and if there's enough of a groundswell, we'll put out a referendum and see if the franchisees want to vote them out.
And the other question I had was if someone's generated work from Facebook, that's not owned by gyms. Is that correct?
Well, if you get work from Facebook, when you say owned by gyms, as far as we're concerned, it's yours. What you should do is put it as a pickup. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, but if you put it on the system as a pickup, that means if that client was to ring back in the future, it'll go straight back to you. Otherwise, you won't know it's you.
Yeah.
They just say we need this guy who's been, what are you, mowing, aren't you? Yes,
yeah.
Of course. Yeah, we know this guy who's doing some mowing for us. We don't know who he is, and we can't tell. But if you put it in the pickup and they give their address in, we'll know it's you. So, but all clients belong to you. As soon as you pay the lead fee, or as soon as you put them into the system, they're your clients by contract.
Right.
You can sell the rights to them, but we can't take them off you.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Some good questions.
It's a good question, that is, yes.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, g'day, Jim. So as far as like all the divisions go, is there one that you have in mind that when it came up as an opportunity that you looked at, the numbers were good, but in your mind you thought, I don't think this one's going to succeed, but it's turned out to thrive? Is there anyone that stands out to you in particular?
Well, cleaning in the first place, because I didn't think it would work. The brand would work for a cleaning business. I really didn't. I tried on a different brand initially, one called Sunlight, because I didn't think the mowing guy with a beard and the hat would work for a woman who was doing cleaning. And I tried with the other, the Sunlight brand, it failed. Then somebody came to me and said, well, what about Jim's cleaning? And I actually said to them, I don't think it's going to work. But they really persisted and they said, we'll set it off, we'll drive it. And it did work. So it was just surprising, that's all. It's funny how a brand, but you look at things like, say, Virgin, all right? Now, Virgin was a record store. It's now on cola, it's now on airlines, it's now on everything. It just, the brand becomes powerful enough to extend.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Most of the new divisions come up, not my idea at all. Somebody comes to me and says, how about this? Like fencing, for example. That was somebody's idea. One of my first franchisees, a guy called Andrew McIntosh, actually came up with the idea of fencing. He launched it.
Okay.
And I didn't know it was going to work, but I like Andrew. He's just a great guy, a great franchisee, great franchisor later. And he's now hugely successful. He's got
big nurseries and stuff.
Nurseries all over the place. He's a developer. He's done very well for himself, which is great.
Okay. And also another question for you is, do you think the Obi-Wan Kenobi series has done the Star Wars franchise justice or no?
I don't really like anything. I don't know why he keeps on bringing up Star Wars. Frankly, I like New Hope. I like Empire Strikes Back, and I reckon the prequels are good. I love the way that Palpatine becomes the Galactic Emperor. To me, that's really, really interesting. I love villains. After that, it's all rubbish. I mean, seriously. I tried it. I did not like it at all. I don't know why he keeps on bringing it up. I do identify with really the great characters like Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. I mean, I've got to admit, I admire them, but...
Villains! All the villains.
I love villains. Villains are the best. No, seriously, you've got to have a great villain, don't you? How would Star Wars be with only good guys? It'd be boring.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Hi, Jim. It's me, Binod from Tasmania. Just a quick question about the technology right now. Do you use the ChatGPT?
I have tried it. I find it fairly normal, fairly anodyne, fairly generalised.
Okay. Just my question is like, you came through the long life, you had lots of experience. So from your beginning point to now, it's lots of change with the technology as well. So how you deal with the daily life?
In what sense?
Yeah, with technology.
Does it affect in the business, definitely you hire the best people from the market to deal with the AI generation. Does it affect in your daily life?
AI in your business. Is that AI in the business the question about?
No, yeah, we don't use AI at all in gyms really, because the thing is the technology that's been around for the last 10 years is quite ample to do what we want. There are simple things that we want to do. Like, for example, one of the greatest things we can possibly do, which we hope to have by the end of next year, is a system that will allow a client to book into your diary if you want it to happen. Because you'll know how much time you've got available and where you'll be. So actually, when a client books, instead of getting you to call back, book it in. Now you don't need AI for that. That's basic technology that's been around for a long time. It's making it work. That's the hard part. There's so many brilliant things that we can do with current technology. AI is so... If we could do the kind of stuff we could imagine doing now with current technology, we would be in an amazingly better position. We'd be able to do so much more for our people than we can at the moment. Give better service, better customer service, better service to franchisees, better income, better everything. Technology is powerful, but I don't know that AI is all that big really. I haven't seen any evidence that it's doing anything spectacular.
Depends what you define as spectacular. We do use it in some things. So for online stuff, we made like a Pixar Jim's fictitious movie last time. So we used image generation and said, make us a 4K scenes of Jim's franchisees, and we put into a video clip.
But I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we use it for marketing stuff. And I can make Jim talk as AI. So there's a few things I played at the conference when there was a video message. Jim's not there, I can give it a script and then AI Jim can talk. And
well, it's a different generation to me.
Yeah, generation AI is a little bit different, but in regards to the business, but as a franchisee, you should use it in terms of email templates and these sorts of things which to make your life easy. That's where it can as a franchisee level. It will eventually, I guess, seep over into what we do eventually somehow, I don't know, but...
Well, if it's used for marketing, that's good.
Yeah, we use it for marketing.
I've actually seen, they've got me giving a talk in Turkish or something.
Yeah, I've translated it to different languages. So we can actually use these AI tools Jim can speak fluent Mandarin or Hindi or Bengali or whatever. So we can take our FAQ videos and have Jim speak fluent. We played it at the conference and it doesn't do a bad bad job at all. So
Well, we got some Turkish speakers there. They said it was quite.
they said it was pretty good. Yeah.
Well, there you are. We do use AI.
We do use a
So-
little bit, yeah. More fun stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, it's Neville again. I was going to save this for later in the week, but I will do it now. You know how we're asked to call back in a hurry if we get a lead?
Yes.
And then if there's no answer, text them.
Yep.
What about if the call centre said, thank you, Mr. Penman, for your call. I'll get Neville to give you a call and arrange a time. What about if they said, and the last 3 digits of his number are 123, so that, because I don't answer a call if...
What we'll actually do is we'll send the client a text telling them your complete phone number.
Okay, so I didn't realise that happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
It's a good point.
Really good point.
It is a good point, actually.
It's very good. It's probably worth a prize.
Don't worry, you're getting a prize anyway. It's all good. You're going to get one. Don't worry. Anyone asks a question gets a prize from Jim. It's all good. But I've got a couple online, Jim, which I want to get real quickly as well. If you've got a question, feel free to come up as well. But there's a few different ones online, so we always like to be transparent. So Jonathan Goodall's gone, this is relating to the franchisor before. He says, my franchise was put on hold for 3 months due to health reasons and couldn't drive for that period of time, but Jim's was charging me fees even when it was on hold and I wasn't making an income, but they still exempt me to pay the fees. Why should you still have to pay the fees if the franchise is on hold? That's my question to Jim. It sounds a bit odd.
Yeah, we have a policy of we don't charge fees, we suspend franchisees if they present a doctor's certificate. Yep. If they can't present that and they just say I'm not feeling very well or I can't work full time or something, then we don't. That's the simple answer. But there's never been any case where a doctor's certificate is presented, you cannot work between so-and-so and so-and-so. In every single case, we'd always not charge fees.
Yeah, very, very, very strange that wouldn't be the case. And Brad Shee's going in real quickly, another one with franchisors, says, would you ever consider allowing us to choose a franchisor from amongst our peers? So franchisees voting someone in versus the need to vote someone out. My region has had 4 franchisors in 4 years. Our franchisors always seem to be pushing their own agenda instead of listening. So this one from Brad in Dogwash. I think Brad's in Dogwash in Queensland.
Well, yes, actually, we haven't got so much franchisors as managers in Dogwash. The simple answer to that is yes, actually, if you were in a division which is run by National, which Dogwash is, if you as a group want to choose one of your peers to be support, then you can. Absolutely you can. In fact, it does happen. So yeah, sure. If you're interested, if you've got somebody local you'd like to have in place, you want to get together and tell me, put them in, no trouble at all. The people that are the managers are actually local franchisees themselves normally. All we need to know is that they're decent operators. They've got to be, you know, making good money. They've got to be giving good customer service. So we wouldn't just accept anybody, but yeah, sure. If you want somebody to be your manager, then just tell us who you'd like, and we'll run a vote if you like, just for the local area.
There you go, Brad. Easy done. That's what we like us, Jim. We have all this stuff come up all the time. Come up, guys. You've got a question for Jim. Anyone else got a question for Jim up here? Yep, go for it. Might as well take advantage of it. It's all recorded, all live.
We've actually got an open meeting with the Dogwash franchisees tomorrow at 6 p.m. Actually, if anybody's watching that, so you can come in and take up all these things if you like.
I will see again. So you were talking about a successful cleaning business when you thought it might not do well.
Yes.
So I just want the opposite of it. So have you ever taken a division that you thought will go really well, but it didn't do well, and then you had to cancel it? And then have you ever gone back and thought about it, why it didn't do well?
Okay, I'll give you a recent example which has been very embarrassing to us. Is Jim's Beauty. Came to us with the idea. We thought there'd be plenty of franchisees. It seemed to be a business with lots of interest from client base. We gave away about 5 franchises to get it going, and we just couldn't find the local work. In the end, we stopped charging them fees and then said, sorry. And some of them were transferred to other divisions like laundry and cleaning, but we just couldn't make it work. More usually the reason is the person running it. So, for example, there's plenty. I mean, Dogwash itself was one stage we had about 60 franchisees and then got the wrong person in charge and dropped to about 30. We actually brought it back and we've now got about 270. But just leadership makes the biggest difference. That's the biggest single thing. It's not the division itself, it's the leader. But Beauty is an example of a division we just couldn't get to work.
Despite having the best PR start in any division,
We had
on the
a
Today
great
Show,
PR start all over the country. We had this name, Jim's into Beauty. It was just an amazing story. But lots of interest from franchisees, but just couldn't. But that's very rare, actually. I can't even think of a case where we fell for lack of leads, apart from that. Go for it.
Yeah, hi Jim, Aaron again. So obviously the goal of all of us here is to become the best in our division that we can do, not just in our areas, but basically in the Jim's group. Now, if one of us was to, or any of us were to get to the level where we're excelling in what we do, and we wanted to look at potentially taking on another franchise, for example, from cleaning to take on something else, whether it be a dog wash or going into a mowing, something like that. Is that something you recommend? Is there a process involved in doing that, or is there something else?
Okay, it's fairly unusual because you're going to be flat out doing whatever you're doing. Every franchisee who's just gets to be flat out. That's what happens. So you don't do an extra division to get more work. In fact, if you want work from another division, there's lots of unserviced leads around. I can even send you a list. You just email me, jim@jims.net, and I'll send you a list of all the unserviced leads from other divisions in your area, in your service area. And you can see the jobs you'd like to do. So you can do it that way. Where a person buys more than one division is because they're building a very major business. Like you said you're cleaning,
yes,
right? Okay, let's just say you have 10 people working for you in the cleaning business and you want to expand that. So you say, okay, I'll take a mowing business too, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll put workers on that. People do that at times. So they have a business that can go across more than one division for that reason.
Yeah. So like a recommendation might be something like, if you're, in my instance, in cleaning, you could look at something like pressure washing as a combination service, or carpet cleaning as a combination service.
That is fairly common, actually. That is when they often do. You get people who've got cleaning and carpet cleaning.
Yeah.
But again, it's usually because you're building a very major business. Because normally what would happen too is if you're a successful cleaner and you want to go into another division, normally the franchisor would look at your record and give you a franchise. That's normally the practice of what happens.
And would there be training involved? Obviously, coming
you'd have to do the divisional training. But then again, if you were a successful cleaning franchisee, you probably would know how to clean windows, and you probably actually at that stage got into carpet cleaning, so you know how that works. So you can do divisional training, but generally speaking, look, most franchisors are very keen to have franchisees. If you prove yourself as being somebody who can do things well, then they'll be very eager to have you. So it does happen.
Thank you.
But how ambitious you are.
Good question. Go for it.
So you've built obviously a very impressive training facility here between Foothills and Jim's HQ and the auditorium and all of that. How did all of this come about? Like, what's the story behind this block of land and the need for this, and then the inspiration behind putting a hotel next to it and all of that, bringing it together?
What I wanted was a situation, I wanted people to be able to come and live together for a few days. Originally, because it was mainly mowing, it was 6 days. And what we find is that if people come and they live together and they spend time and they eat together and they socialise together, what you do is you develop a sort of esprit de corps. We call it being Jimified. We have a word for it. You come and you kind of you get the spirit of the place. And we actually do find that people who come here and experience it are different. Like, we don't have the same experience if they come online, for example. Even though, technically speaking, you can learn the same stuff. There's something about, I don't know how you people feel about that. But there is a certain sense of this place, isn't it? And the fact that I can actually get to meet with you, because I'm wandering around, wander around the tables and stuff and say hello to people and ask how the food is and stuff. Get to know you a bit. And then we sit and talk about different things, and then people from different divisions get together. There is a big social element about a business. And coming to training initially is part of that whole idea, and it has worked extremely well. And it's the same thing ongoing when you go to the meetings. When you go to the meetings, and you should go regularly and you get to know other franchisees. It's about learning, but it's also about catching the spirit of the organisation. And we've got a very different culture in gyms. It's very... I'm very confident when you get out into your meetings and you get to know other franchisees, they'll be very eager to help you. It's just the way people do things. So everybody wants to see you successful. And then as you get more successful, you're going to mentor people as well. And you'll get to know somebody at a meeting as a new person who's struggling. You'll give them a phone number, you'll give them a ring and talk to them. It happens all the time. I hear lots of these great stories all the time. So Yeah, it's actually worked exceptionally well, this place. It does, and the food's not too bad, is it? Is that right?
Food's great.
Only trouble with it is that you can eat a bit too much. So I'm lucky I don't have training every week, or I might put on too much weight.
Got one more question, guys. Got time for one more if you want. Is one more for Jim? Anything on your mind? No. Well, I've got a couple more online real quickly, Jim. I just want to read out to you as well. Matt Walker basically says he's a franchisee. He's been on for 5 months, loves it. If he went out on his own, he's saying he wouldn't have learnt the simple basic task which makes converting a job. So he's been loving it as well. And then one here real quickly from Outback Jack's gone. G'day, Jim. Just wondering if there are any options for people to get a start with little capital in the mowing division.
Well, 25 grand is not very little capital to me, but if you haven't got any money at all, it's going to be difficult. Yeah. Generally speaking, most people come up with that kind of money. We also, it's a certain, starting with no money at all is a bit of an issue, because if you don't have a little bit of hurt in the game, even, maybe 10 grand, people tend to get discouraged and walk away, particularly if they're young and single. So having a little bit of an investment does help. But usually if you've got a little bit of money, if you look good and your franchisor likes you, they'll usually find some way to get you the business.
Vendor financing sometimes. And things
Vendor
like that.
finance of some kind, yeah. We have a system with Dog Wash where the full franchise is $50,000, but we're looking at franchises for as little as $5,000 down, but with higher ongoing fees. So just as a way of getting people, if they're the right people, that's what you've got to check on. Have they got what it takes?
You go, inquire with the franchisor and see what they say. All right, Jim, what were your favourite questions tonight? So what we're going to do is just to explain for people. So Jim will read out his 3 favourite questions, and they get first pick of the prizes up here. So you can take anything you like, except for the laptop here. And then after that, come up and see me and you grab a prize as well. And I will say, if you want a photo with Jim, it's a great time to do it now because there's a nice light here. It's craziness on Wednesday. So if you want a photo with Jim or anything, get one now as well. So Jim, which questions were they?
I like the story about the idea of Jim's space travel.
Space travel, all right, there we go. Come up, pick what you like. First pick.
That's different. We haven't had that one before.
That is a good one. Which one would you like? Take anything you like.
Which one do you want? Buddy, go for it.
You want the beer maybe? I don't know. Yeah, you've had Monopoly, right?
Okay.
That's a good choice. Oh, absolutely, take one. Yep, cool. Great stuff.
The other person
Next
who
one.
asked about what different career would I have had, that was an interesting question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. Who said that?
If you weren't Jim, what would you be doing? Yep. Come up, pick anything you like. And what was the last one there, Jim?
I like the question about the Facebook. Somebody asked about how Facebook works and who owns the jobs and stuff.
The lead one, yeah. The very specific question. Yes, very good one. Yep.
All right.
Come up here and pick anything you like. Now, if you ask the question to Jim as well, you can get anything as well from here as well, at the end as well.
Those are the first, but anybody who asked a question, which is most of you, I think, thank you, congratulations for that.
Absolutely. So this goes up as a replay on YouTube tomorrow in our podcast as well, so take anything you like. You want the book? Do you want Jim to sign it?
Oh, yeah.
Could be worth something in the future if he pulls it off. Could be worth a lot. There we go. Paul's
I warn you, Paul, it's not easy going.
Biohistory.org is Jim's research project. If you want to check it out on YouTube as well. Some good videos there explaining it. Cool. And which one would you like? Go for it. There is a lot of choices.
There's a lot of good stuff here. Yes, by all means.
Okay, we've got some more hats and stuff over here, do we? All right,
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
You want to open them now? Cool. No worries.
I'll do it.
No worries. So, guys, this podcast, we do it every 3 to 4 weeks. As you heard, franchisees come on board. There was a suggestion from a franchisee made live, and you said do it. So that's why we like this sort of thing as well. It goes on the YouTube channel, goes on the Jim's Group podcast as well. And if you want to get a photo of Jim, see me here as well. And thank you for your attendance tonight, and have a good rest of your training experience. So thank you very much.